What I'll be doing in this video is sharing with you guys the continuation of this script. So what you'll see is me turning this script into a cluster. And all a cluster is taking all of our sliders, inputs, and outputs and organizing them from top to bottom. And then we can create the cluster to simplify the inputs and outputs and use this in a seamless way. So let me show you how to get this done. So the first thing I do is I go around, and I try to do this before I get into creating the cluster. I go around and label all of my sliders so I know exactly what they're doing. And then I can organize them from top to bottom, like I explained to you guys. And that way we can keep it organized. The other thing I like to do is make sure that your previous script, you copy, paste it, and you relabel it, because this is going to override your previous script. And you don't want to lose your work that you've done previous to this. So now that we have this in a brand new file, we copied that script. Now let's take all of the inputs and outputs and place them on the left-hand side. So let me show you that. Okay, so once I've taken all of these sliders like this and moved them to the left-hand side, then I start creating the relays right at the output of it. The reason why is because this will allow you to only have one input. In some instances, we have multiple inputs, and also this allows it to be organized right here, because technically the input would be up here, and that's how it's organized. When we create a relay, it makes it so it's organized like this. In some cases, when you double click to create a relay, it does have to recalculate the entire script. So it will take a few seconds here to update and do the step again, but we definitely need this relay here. The other thing we need to do is get rid of this data dam, because this will not be available within the outside of the script for the cluster. So we actually have to take this and override the input. Unless we want to take care of this after the fact. So this is where you start getting into, like, there are many variations you can create of a script. So I actually feel like we can use a geometry output for the sphere. We can have a separate one for the pipes, and we can do the union after the cluster, and I'll show you that here. So first this one, and then the spheres. We have this, and now we can create a data dam after, because this is going to all be a cluster within this. So we'll do the union portion. This can be taken care of after the fact. So we can bring in the data dam. We can use either one. So we'll use this one, and we're going to be joining it with this one. So we'll go to union, solid union, plug this one in, plug this one in. We'll flatten the input. And then after, when we know exactly what sizes we want for those, then you can press the play button here, and it will continue and take care of this step, which is when it's joined together into one solid. So that is the way that we can organize this. So the script and the cluster is not so heavy, and when you move a slider, it has to Boolean union the entire connection. Okay, so now let's continue on here. And I'm just double clicking here on the output of the slider and creating a relay. Like I said, all of these need to recalculate when you create a relay. So it's going to take a few seconds for it to recalculate. But it's, like I said, it's a necessary step here. All right, so we got that one. Now let's go to the connection pipe. And like you see here, it's taking a little bit to calculate. So that's one of the things when you create custom scripts like this, sometimes it'll be heavy enough to where it takes a little bit for it to calculate all of the steps at once. All right, so this is what it should look like when I create like the organization for the cluster. So then I'll take this, I will go Control-Shift-G to ungroup them. I'll use this left arrow to organize them to the left, and then I will figure out which one of these sliders is the longest one. I'll align it with one of these grids that is within the Grasshopper script, and let's just extend these to extend to that. So I like to just keep them organized so the cluster is, you're just focused on the numbers, and we're moving these around. The other thing that we're going to do right as soon as we're done with organizing these and stretching them out is figuring out what's the most logical way to organize this, because it's organized from top to bottom. So I think the first thing we need is the surface. So that's this one. I have to create a relay, so it might take a second here. Okay. This is from top to bottom. This is how it's going to be organized. The surface is the first thing that we will see in the cluster. Right after that is going to be the subdivisions, and we'll just make sure that it's organized in a logical way here. So it'll take a few seconds for it to recalculate everything. Once it does, let's go to the divisions, the connection size, that makes sense. The connection sphere, that makes sense. Connection pipe, that makes sense. I think the pipe size could be before. The connections go here. Connection size, so this is another portion of the connection. Connection divisions, connection points. All of these seem like they're organized in an okay way. Okay, now let's take these, organize them, just keep it clean. Move this over, and now we can create the cluster. So the cluster is going to be everything within this, and these are the only outputs. So now let's do that. Let's see if there's anything else we are missing. The data down here, we can delete it. It's doubling. It has two sets of them. So actually that made it more difficult. We'll hide these frames because we have them out here. And now let's do it. Let's select all of the inputs, including the relays. So the first thing I use is relays on the left hand side, relays on the right hand side, middle click, and now let's go to cluster. Now when you create a cluster, once again, it will recalculate the entire script, but it will place it within one component. And this is kind of the way that I like to organize my scripts, so I can share it with people that maybe are not too well versed with Grasshopper, but want to be able to use the script. And so that's one of the resources that I provide. Let's organize these by bringing them up a little bit closer together. Then select them all, use the middle, and then left. So now it's organized evenly. And here we have the rest. So we can also bring these together. And then once you have them all together, the middle one and then left. Okay, so at this stage now, everything has been organized for inputs, outputs. All I'm going to do now is copy the text for these, place it inside, and relabel this so we know exactly what it does. I'll have this available on my website, capettidavid.com. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll have the full tutorial on how the script was created. And this was mostly an overview on how to take your scripts and simplify them using inputs and outputs into a cluster like this. So thank you very much for being here. Hopefully you found this useful, and I hope to see you on the next one.